Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. I was just getting towards the end of watering my mounts and I was thinking, what the hell am I going to film today? And there was a rat-tat-tat at the door. I only got posted 2 days ago, second class. Here before lunch today. Right, we'll have a go at opening this from the top. You won't guess what's in here because it will be unexpected. One of the plants in here I've never ever mentioned on my YouTube channel. Nonetheless, it's something I've had my eye on for some time on other people's channels. Why won't this open? Am I being silly here? We had this last time with these boxes, didn't we? Yeah, the trouble is I don't want to mess this box up because this is going to be a perfect box for me to send to somebody else. So what we will do is we will open it along the top. I've got orchids to post in at some point in the future, and this is a brilliant shaped box for putting longer but not wide orchids in. Right, so what have we got then? A bit of newspaper, not a lot, scrunchy, and 2 plants with stakes. Stakes being there to stop the pot moving in the box. Brilliant idea that is. When I box mine up, I may be using that. But you're not going to see any paperwork. In fact, it can stay in the box for now. Usual card, no writing on the back. Just advertising where I got them from. Give them a plug. Right. Let's see what we've got then. I'll do this one first. So I've just seen something in the other wrapping paper that I wasn't expecting. So what we've got here is obviously a cattleya type. I just hope that this is not in that flipping cocoa husk, because the thought of doing battle trying to get it out of that is not my idea of fun at the moment. So we're going to have to cut this off. It normally just slides off. I think there's just so much sellotape involved here to... I think my scissors need sharpening. They should just slide up there. Oh well. Another job for in a minute. Yeah, this is sellotape city. I wonder if they've got somebody new packing this, or perhaps they've got shares in the sellotape company. Yeah, let's get that out of the way. Right. This sellotape is going to be annoying. Just trying to think of the easiest way to get it off. Just cut it. That's the easy way, isn't it? Straight up there, and just hope there's no new growths underneath that bit. This is wet, very wet in fact. Let's get the tag out of there. Ugh, very, very wet. That's unusual. Alright, so what we've got is quite a nice looking cattleya, good leaves, no damage on these leaves, they're in good nick. And more importantly, what we've got is 2 lovely new growths and the signs of some new roots coming with those new growths. That is good because I've got a feeling this is in solid moss. Yes, absolutely ringing wet, old, not too old, sphagnum moss. So that's coming out of there. So that'll be a nice kitchen time, because if it's coming out of there, you know what it's going to go in, don't you? It's going to go in a holy clay pot, and it's not going to like it, because if that's been used to growing in soggy moss, the change to being in an open airy mix of large bark, it's probably going to object. So it's important for me to wait till I see new roots. So it might have to stay in there a while until that point. but it can stay in there on the condition that the first thing I do is dry it off, and then I can give it a little bit of water every now and again, because I'm not keeping it soggy like that. What roots there are would not last long. I suppose you want to know what it is. I've had my eye on this plant since I first saw it on Danny's channel. I think it was one of her monthly winners or something. Now we've got to learn a new name. Chara? Whatever, but it's Francis Fox. And I've been after it a while. But I was waiting till I saw a reasonable one. Doesn't have to be a giant, just one that, you know, 3 or 4 reasonable sized pseudo bulbs. And in this case, 2 new growths. It's important that I don't lose those 2 new growths. Now this one, again, every time I go in to look to see what's on that site, I see this one and I think, actually I think I might get that. And then when I go to get it, there's none there anymore. They've all been sold. And somebody said, I think somebody got one of these and put it in a video and said that I said, that's a nice plant. I had my eye on one of them and they said, Speciotic Plants have got those for sale. And I went there and no, they didn't have. They were all out. And they've obviously got some more in. Right, and what we've got is one spike with a bloom on, and another spike with quite a few buds. Now this was one of those where the picture of the exact plant was not on the site. It said you will get plant like on pictures, which I'm always very wary of, and I warn others. But with this site, I've been buying from them for 3, maybe even 4 years now. I have an element of trust with them. So if they say the plant's going to be like the ones on the pictures, then it is. So I'm happy to believe them. Others that have said that have been doing porky pies in no uncertain terms. Badly, you know, really nastily. So they have no trust and don't get any more custom. Whereas this one does, and does get my custom. And this is it's effectively a new type of plant for me. Well, so's the other one, really. I mean, the other one might have a strange name, but at the end of the day, it's a cattleya. You know, you can keep reclassifying these and subdividing the cattleyas as much as you like, but at the end of the day, it's basically a cattleya. As far as care, looking after, and all that sort of stuff is concerned, it's a cattleya. And if you're on about care for cattleyas, it couldn't really be more straightforward. Plenty of air around the roots. How you achieve it's up to you. You grow cattleyas in stones, lava rock, chunks of charcoal, in an open basket with nothing in it. Just plenty of air around the roots. And in addition to that, feed and water well when they're growing, but do not ever leave roots soggy on a cattleya. They need to dry quite quickly, and do it. Let them dry in between watering. Don't muck about thinking, oh, that one's getting a bit dry. If it's a bit dry, it's not actually dry, is it? Let the flipping things dry off. Right, what I'm just looking at here is some of the sheaths on these bulbs are dark. And when I see dark sheaths, I always sort of think, is that the old black mould? Because if you get that, you need to get it out quick. It's not. They're just dark. That's their natural colour. Right, that's not a bad plant. It's showing a progression. So it's got a small pseudo bulb, then it's got a slightly larger one, and then it's got another one that's actually slightly smaller, but it bloomed. Actually, that larger one there bloomed. And now the best pseudo bulb of all is the latest one, which has a spike. And in addition to that, what we have down here is 2 new growths. one each side of that growth. 2. This is what we like. And the fact that this older pseudo-bulb has got a spike on it, it can't be that old. So I would expect that one to push out a new growth as well. I'm not going to attempt to get this out of the pot. If I do, it'll be all over the place. But this is in cocoa fibre, topped up with a sprinkle of bark. But what we've got is some good roots coming out of there. I'm just trying to dig down to see if they've got root tips on them or whether they've been lost. Nope. Those white roots coming out here have got active green tips on them. So when do you think that's coming out of the pot then? You got it. Tomorrow. So we'll get that one out in the kitchen and get that one sorted out. Yeah, these, I suppose you want to know what that is as well. I've got to learn another new word now. And this is a dialalia, or a dialalia. So this is obviously an intergeneric in the Cattleya Alliance, and it's a lalia crossed with something that starts with DIA, and I haven't got a clue. Do I give a monkeys at this point in time? No. It's just a Cattleya. It's not a big deal. I don't need to worry too much about it. But it's called Chantilly Lace Twinkle. I'd get that just for the name. Dialalia Chantilly Lace Twinkle. Yeah, I like that. And the other one, how the hell I'm going to work out how to pronounce that, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen an orchid genus, in effect, with 2 C's next to each other. And the second C's got an H after it. So what are you supposed to do with that then? Recchana. Yek. Recchara. That's going to be an R, isn't it? I wish people would. If you can't write proper in small letters, write in capital letters. Not that that's particularly correct format for orchid names, but at least be able to read it. I think it's Recchara. I'll stick with that. I mean, I'll just Google it and it'll come up with the right letters in the right order. And sometimes you can find a place where it gives you like the pronunciation in little chunks so that you can work out how to say it properly. But you know me, I'm not that fussed. So there we go, 2 nice plants. I'm pleased with those. Not excessively priced as far as I'm concerned, and definitely not excess postage charge. £7 to post 2 plants, as far as I'm concerned, that's a very reasonable price for postage. Okay, it's in the same country, but nonetheless, you know, that was coming from a nursery in Germany, that would be about £25 I expect, or somewhere around there. But then I could probably have a dozen plants for that price. They tend to have, this is what we're going to charge you to pack your stuff, put it in a box and get it to Postman Pat. And what goes in the box they don't seem to worry about so much. Whereas the postage from this place is priced per plant. The first one on its own seems relatively expensive, but I still think it's good value. But each subsequent plant that you chuck in just adds £1 or £2 on, so that, you know, the more you get, the cheaper per plant. So there we go, 2 new plants. I hadn't even mentioned that I'd got some new plants, had I? Well, we're going to have a few surprises now and again. And my surprise was actually that, whatever it's called now, Recchara, actually being in a solid lump of sphagnum moss. What I'll probably do is get a tray so I don't make a mess and tease a little bit of that moss out and leave it out of its pot. Just lay it on its side for a bit and just give it a chance to dry off, because obviously my humidity is quite high in here, so it's not going to dry fast, but I'd like it to dry. When it's totally dry, and I mean dry, I'm going to let that moss go crispy, yeah? Then it can have a little bit of water and feed now and again to keep those new growths going, but I want the new roots before I hack all that moss off, and then it can go in its clay pot with some big bark. So there we go. I was one of these, I've been looking at pictures of this and thinking, I like that, it's delicate, but is it going to be one of those that looks good in a picture and when you see it in the real world you sort of go often it's the other way round. The pictures don't do it justice, and when you see it for real it's more of a wow factor. But this is delicate, I like it. Soft pinks, bit of purple veining, a little touch of yellow. and lip and petals matching. Sepals quite different. That doesn't happen often. Not that different anyway. Right, so thanks for watching. See you next time. There will be kitchen sessions for one of those immediately and one of those as soon as I can, but I'm waiting for the roots on that one. I don't want to mess that one up. If that was in some sort of bark or the cocoa pieces or something like that, the transition to the bark in the holy clay pot wouldn't be as great. But coming out of moss, I've either got to pot it in something that holds some moisture for a while to let it transition, then transition it again, which is 2 repots. It's not worth it. It's better to just wait. Once I've totally dried that moss out. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by. Quick addendum. Took some of the moss off and I've just put it in an open basket. That'll keep it upright, or relatively upright. Stop the new growths getting knocked, and nice lot of air around it. Should dry off reasonably quickly now. The moss doesn't smell really bad. It's got a bit of a whiff to it, so it's not ridiculously old and totally broken down. So the rush sort of goes away. If the moss isn't that bad, then it can live in the moss for a while until those new roots grow. Hopefully soon. Right. There we go then. I kept these open baskets. I had no intention of ever planting anything in there because I don't think I'm going to get any more Draculas or Masdevallia types. And there isn't much else I'd want to put in there, but that'll do. That'll do for now. See you next time.